Brace yourself for the bombshell. Lewis Hamilton, the legendary 7-time world champion, has just issued an ice-cold warning that could send shockwaves through the entire Formula One paddock. What Ferrari is doing behind the scenes right now could cost Hamilton everything: his future, his legacy, and his title chances in 2026. The timing of this revelation is impossible to believe. And if you're a Hamilton fan, you need to hear every single word of what's coming next. Because what Lewis said during testing in Bahrain changes everything we thought we knew about his season ahead. Ferrari made one of the biggest driver signings in the history of the sport, and now, just weeks before the season begins, there are serious questions about whether the Scuderia has given their champion the tools he needs to succeed. This is not a drill. This is real, and it's happening right now. Speaking to media on day one of testing in Bahrain, Lewis Hamilton dropped a revelation that has sent the entire Formula One world into a frenzy. His race engineer at the test, Carlo Santi, will only stay in the role for a few races. That's right, a few races, not the full season, not even half the season, just a handful of Grands Prix before Hamilton will be handed another new engineer. Let that sink in for a moment. The greatest driver in the history of Formula One, the man with more wins and more poles than anyone who has ever strapped into a car, doesn't even have a permanent voice in his ear. Carlo Santi is an experienced engineer. He worked with Kimi Räikkönen during his second stint at Maranello. He knows the team inside and out, but he's essentially a placeholder, a temporary solution while Ferrari figures out the long-term plan. Hamilton himself described the situation as quite a difficult period, and honestly, that feels like an understatement. How can a driver of his caliber be expected to perform at the highest level when the most important relationship in his working life is about to be disrupted yet again? Ferrari signed Lewis Hamilton to win championships, and yet here we are, weeks before the season starts, and they cannot even confirm who will be talking to him during the races. This is unbelievable. Here's where this story goes from concerning to genuinely alarming. Hamilton used a very specific word to describe what this engineer switch could mean for his season. He called it detrimental. That's not a word Lewis Hamilton uses lightly. He's one of the most measured, most experienced competitors this sport has ever seen. And he's openly telling the world that this situation could damage his chances. Think about what he's facing here. In the space of roughly 18 months, Hamilton will have worked with 3 different race engineers. First, Riccardo Adami for 24 races last year, then Carlo Santi for a few races at the start of 2026, and then whoever comes next. 3 engineers, 3 completely different communication styles, 3 different ways of reading the data, 3 different personalities to adapt to. Hamilton said it himself. He wants to arrive at a season with people who have done multiple seasons together, people who have been through thick and thin, people who are calm under pressure. Instead, he's getting a revolving door. And let's not forget the context here. 2026 brings the biggest regulation change Formula One has seen in years. New aerodynamic philosophy, new power unit regulations, active aerodynamics, completely different cars. Every team is starting from a blank sheet of paper, and in that environment, the relationship between driver and engineer is more critical than ever. When the car is new and unpredictable, when everyone is still learning the limits, you need that trust to be absolutely rock solid. You need your engineer to understand exactly what you mean when you describe how the car feels. There is no margin for miscommunication, and Hamilton is going into this revolution without a settled partner. Is Ferrari sabotaging their own champion? Are they setting up the greatest driver of all time to fail? To understand why this situation is so dangerous, you have to look back at what happened last year, because that is the cautionary tale that makes everything about 2026 feel so terrifying. After 12 incredible years with Peter Bonington, the legendary Bono, Hamilton moved to Ferrari and was paired with Riccardo Adami. 12 years with Bono. Think about what that means. Thousands of laps, Hundreds of races, 7 world championships, moments of pure triumph and moments of absolute heartbreak, all shared between those two. Bono didn't just read Hamilton lap times, he knew Hamilton. He knew when to push, when to back off, when to speak and when to stay silent. Hamilton didn't even have to finish a sentence on the radio, and Bono understood exactly what he meant. That relationship was the foundation of Hamilton's success, and then it was gone, replaced by Riccardo Adami, and what followed was one of the most painful seasons in Hamilton's entire career. 24 races together and not a single podium. Let that number hit you. Lewis Hamilton, the driver with more victories than anyone in the history of Formula One, went an entire season without standing on the podium. The partnership was a disaster from the very beginning. There were radio messages that made fans cringe, moments of awkward silence when Hamilton clearly needed guidance, tensions that were visible to everyone watching, from what fans described as tea breaks to questions about fairness to moments where Hamilton openly questioned the strategy. It was clear that the chemistry simply was not there. Ferrari eventually made the decision to separate the two, moving Adami into a different role within the team. And Hamilton was gracious about it. He thanked Adami for his effort and patience. But the damage was already done. An entire season lost. And now the fear is that history could repeat itself. Ferrari, in a move that shocked the paddock, had already announced last month that Hamilton would not continue with Adami, moving the engineer into a different role within the company. Everyone thought, okay, that's the right call. Fresh start, new partnership, let's move forward. But nobody expected what Hamilton revealed in Bahrain. The fact that Carlo Santi is only a short-term solution means Ferrari still doesn't have a permanent answer to the most important question surrounding their star driver. And the rumour mill, it's spinning at absolute full speed right now. The name that keeps coming up is Cedric Michel Grosjean, Oscar Piastri's former lead trackside performance engineer at McLaren. Michel Grosjean is well regarded, experienced, and knows what it takes to perform at the sharp end of the grid. But here's what got everyone talking last month. Michel Grosjean liked a LinkedIn post from Ferrari team principal Fred Vasseur, specifically one about the Ferrari SF26's development journey. Now, liking a post on LinkedIn isn't a signed contract, but in the world of Formula One, where every detail gets scrutinised, that kind of thing does not go unnoticed. When Planet F1 approached Ferrari for comment, the team declined to say anything. And we all know what silence means in Formula One. It means something is happening behind closed doors. But even if Michel Grosjean turns out to be brilliant, even if he's the perfect long-term fit for Hamilton, there's still that painful transition period. There are still those weeks and months of learning each other's communication style, building trust from zero, figuring out the shorthand that makes everything flow during a race, and Hamilton will be doing all of that in the middle of a championship with the most dramatic regulation change in years, with every camera and every microphone in the paddock pointed directly at him. There's also a psychological element that cannot be ignored. Hamilton is someone who thrives on connection. You could hear it in every radio message with Bono over those 12 years. The warmth, the trust, the genuine bond between them. That wasn't just professional, it was personal. When you take that away and replace it with a series of temporary arrangements, it affects more than just the technical side. It affects confidence, it affects comfort, it affects that feeling of being fully supported when the pressure is at its highest. Hamilton told the media he wants people who have been through thick and thin, people who are calm. That tells you everything about what he values and everything about what he's missing right now. The real question hanging over Ferrari is this: did the Scuderia create a bigger problem by not having a long-term plan ready before the season started? Why wasn't the permanent engineer already in place? Why is Hamilton being asked to adapt again when stability is the one thing he needs most? Is Ferrari condemning Hamilton to failure before the first race even begins? Or can Lewis, as he has done so many times before, overcome the odds, silence the doubters, and prove that he is still the greatest to ever do it? Don't you dare miss a single update on this. Subscribe right now and smash that notification bell to get every urgent development about the crisis unfolding at Ferrari and the future of Lewis Hamilton. Drop your thoughts in the comments immediately. Is Ferrari making a fatal mistake with this engineer carousel? Who should be the permanent voice in Lewis's ear? Do you think Cedric Grosjean is the right man for the job? And most importantly, do you still believe that Lewis Hamilton can pull off the impossible and bring the World Championship back to Maranello? Because if there's one thing we've learned from watching this man for over 2 decades, it's that you never ever count Lewis Hamilton out. Let us know what you think, because this story is far from over. The 2026 season hasn't even started and the drama is already off the charts.